I am grateful and more than a little bit terrified to be here. For years, I've been telling my students that public speaking is no big deal. So I'm not sure if this is an honor or a very well executed bit of revenge. Either way, thank you. Before I started writing my speech, I went to Mr. Roberts for advice, and he told me I should avoid cliches, which it turns out is much easier to say than it is to actually do. So rather than avoid cliches, let's get as many as we can out of the way early. Ready? Class of 2016, you will not remember what I say to you today, but you did it. This is not an ending, it's a beginning. You are standing on the threshold of tomorrow, and as you embark on the next phase of your adventure, believe in yourself and don't waste your opportunities. This is the first day of the rest of your life. Education is not a destination, it's a journey. And a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. So dare to live your dreams. Get out of your comfort zone. Never stop learning. Never settle. Never be afraid of failure. Be the change you wish to see in the world, because the future is in your hands. Take that, Mr. Roberts. Now, none of these cliches are really wrong. They've just been used so many times that they've lost their ability to move people. And the trouble for me today is that there seems very little in the way of advice I could give you that would not come across as cliche. And the fact of the matter is that you probably won't remember much of what I say. All I remember from my graduation is the big green dragonfly that landed right on my arm and hung out for a few minutes in the middle of the ceremony. That's it. That's all I got. So instead of trying to give you some profound advice, I want to encourage you to see the magic of what is happening right now. I'm going to go out on a limb and guess that no one came here today because they do not like you. No one is here out of anger. No one is here to wish you harm. And this means that you are surrounded by people who love you and are proud of you and who want to celebrate everything you have done to get this far. Since you are probably not going to remember what I say, I'll ask you to really pay attention to how you feel. Members of the class of 2016, take a moment, look around, appreciate that this is a huge room full of pride and respect and admiration and love, and it is all for you. Pay attention to how you feel, because, and here is where I'm going to break and give you a little bit of cliche advice. Your life is not always going to feel like this. You're going to have hard days, terrible days. My guess is you've had some already. Life can be hard. When I was 24, I got my first job out of college. I stocked shelves part-time at Hannaford's for minimum wage. I didn't have a car, so I needed a job I could walk to. And I really lacked the confidence to put myself into any sort of competitive workplace. So I took a job that I thought would be easy. And it was. But every day it was the same. Nobody wanted to hear my opinion. And honestly, no one seemed terribly interested in my existence. It made me feel invisible. On one cold, gray Tuesday morning in March, I was stocking a shelf with old El Paso taco kits. Earlier that morning, the bottom had fallen out of a case of salsa as I picked it up, and I can still hear 24 glass jars hitting the floor, and I can still smell the salsa that soaked my pants. It was not a good morning. As I stood on the stepladder, carefully placing each taco kit, sick from the smell of too much salsa, and feeling very, very alone, I became convinced that the universe had given up on me. And I was ready to give up. And it was at this moment that I saw the old man turn and start ambling down aisle 7. He was wearing a blue sweater, gray pants. He was pushing an empty cart. He didn't take anything from the shelves as he walked the length of the otherwise empty aisle toward me. When he was about 2 feet away, he stopped. He looked up at me and he said, "It hasn't even started yet." Then he turned back to his cart and kept walking right out of the aisle. I was rattled. I spent the next few minutes trying to figure out what he meant. It hasn't even started yet. Came up with two possibilities. Option one, the forecast had called for rain that day. And this was an old man's awkward attempt at pleasant conversation. Or option two, that old man was me. And I had traveled back through time to remind myself that this was not all life had in store for me. That as bad as I felt at that moment, alone, unhappy, and covered in condiments, I was really only beginning. Obviously, I chose option two, the time travel one. I chose it because even though it seemed a little unlikely, at that moment, I really needed something to help me take initiative in my own life. And this old man did that for me. Statistically, class of 2016, it seems very unlikely that I am really one of you come back through time to speak to you today. But then again, in an odd way, I am. Because the 17 years since I sat where you are sitting is not really that long. And maybe advice is a form of time travel. In which case, I have come from the future to tell you, don't forget to slow down and appreciate the amazingness of this day and of all the other beautiful days you'll have in your life. Stop, look around, and store up all this happiness. And when you do have the worst day of your life, and you'll have more than one of them, look inside and pull out this moment when you were in a room full to the rafters with love and nothing but possibility stood before you. Then take a deep breath and start again. Thank you. Congratulations.